And hello, movie lovers, and welcome to the show. So tonight we're actually going to be reviewing Colman Domingo's film from last year, which is Sing Sing. I'm just happy that Coleman got nominated for an Academy Award nomination for this movie. It was a really great movie. I had the pleasure of actually watching it yesterday, and I can't wait to hear Rossie's thoughts on this as well. So without further ado, let's go on ahead. Let's review Sing Sing. This is also going to be a non-spoiler review, so let's go on ahead. Let's get into it. And
Hi,
hey, Rossie.
John.
Hey, how
What's
are
up,
you?
everyone?
So, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. It's great to be
Good.
able to review another Colman Domingo movie. The last one I did was his short film of New Moon, and that was fantastic out of the Holly Shorts Film Festival. It's just good to see how much Coleman has growing. He's doing a lot
Right.
of work. Like
Right.
if you guys go over to the type in Coleman Domingo Western movie short film, you'll actually pull up his short film for that, and you can watch it on YouTube. But it's just amazing at the growth that he's actually done since The Walking Dead, since Candyman, and
Right.
now he's doing Sing Sing.
Right.
But what do you go on ahead and give me your thoughts?
The performance was amazing. He's a great actor, and I like how he can convey his feelings. You feel he brought that character to life. Let's see, John Whitfield, Divine G, absolutely brought him to life. There were times in this film where he brought me to tears. It was just a really, really good film. I enjoyed it. I watched it earlier today because I like to watch my movies the day of the review, and I watched it today, and I didn't know what to expect. I mean, you have prisoners, theater, all that, and I didn't know I was going to get this. I know he's a great actor, but this was great. It was a really good film.
It was, and
Yeah,
I didn't expect that either. I was thinking it was going to be like a musical kind of thing too.
yeah,
So I was thinking
yeah.
that Coleman was going to be singing in this, and
Right.
it's completely opposite of what it is. And it catches you off guard, but it catches you off guard for a main reason of the fact that you forget that these guys are in prison, that they're inmates, and you're cheering for them.
Yes. Yes.
And we'll talk about that in a few minutes, but
Okay.
it was just so great in how much chemistry between everybody,
Yeah.
and how everybody was relatable in some aspect of it.
Right.
I really
Yeah.
have to say. Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm so sorry, John.
No, no, go on ahead.
No, I was thinking that as I'm watching the film and just the inmates alone, I like the fact that they were humanized. You know what I mean? They didn't focus on what they were in for, what their charges were, which I thought it made it a lot easier to really enjoy the film instead of looking at, well, he did that. So, you know what I mean? Like you didn't
Right.
have any of that. You're looking at men that have problems and struggles in life ended up in a situation where they ended up. But to have this outlet and to find out the talents that they had and how much they loved the RTA program, it was just it was really good. I like that they did that in the
Same
story.
here. Yeah, you're absolutely right. They definitely humanized
Yes.
um, the inmates to the point where
Right.
it's like you don't care about what they're in for. You're here
Yeah.
about the art of what they love, and
Right.
you're right. They're dealing with a lot of emotional stuff inside their cells and stuff too, and also
Yeah.
too they're carrying a lot of emotional stuff that with anger and then self
Right.
doubt, and then they're
Yes.
also dealing with maybe they may get out, maybe they may not get out, and
Yes.
if they're even going to survive prison. So you
Right.
have all this emotional stuff happening within them.
Yeah.
And then the one thing that can get them away from all that is theater. And I thought that was a
Yes.
really cool thing of how they're using theater of the arts to get away from their struggles and everything. And they do this every 6 months. So it's
Yes.
just surprising about how they do this every 6 months, and they're putting on this show. They become someone that they're not.
Right.
And I really loved it. I really have to say that everybody was keyed in and glued into what they were doing.
Yes, absolutely. To speak on that, the fact that this happens once every 6 months, they get to participate in this program. So you're giving them something to look forward to, and everything that they're going through, where they're at, to have that to look forward to, and what a therapy acting end up being for some people. it was
Right.
great therapy for them. Like you said, they've been locked up for however long, and we know for a lot of these guys, it's been a long time, but to have an interest where every day I wake up, I'm working towards something, or I have the RTA to look forward to, to pretend to be something and to be in a whole nother world instead of where we're at. So I thought that was great.
Same here, and I love how John Divine G, which is played by Colman Domingo, I like
Yes.
how he's over there pounding his typewriter, and he's coming up with different ideas and different
Yeah.
stories, and he comes up with ensemble pieces.
Right.
I like the idea of the fine print. I'm like, I want to see that.
Right.
Like, I wanted to see the fine print play. And
Right.
then he's like, "Look, I don't do comedies. I do." And I like how he winds up saying, "I do ensembles."
Right.
And then you have all the other inmates goes, "Time travel? How?"
Yeah.
And I like how the fact that all these, and we feel like the inmates though too. We feel like we're locked in with them, and
Yes. Oh, yeah.
also too, we're like, "How is this going to work?"
Right.
And they're making us try to trust the process just as they're trying to try to trust the process as well. I'm like, Brent, this is too much. I can't process this because you got Freddy Krueger. You also have
Yeah.
Hamlet. You have Macbeth. You have all this
Yeah.
stuff going on in one thing. And then wondering
Right.
about time travel. How are they going to get there? This gladiator fight. And
Right.
then once you see it play out, it's like, okay, it makes sense.
Yeah. I really like the fact of, the one character, Divine Eye, um, who he was in the beginning of the film. He was that institutionalized mindset. He's been beat, because he's been in there. And then you hear more about his story and his kid and learning about that, which happens a lot. You're in prison, and then your son, who you weren't able to meet, is now following in your footsteps. Something you don't want as a father that is locked up. But he's so angry, he's so upset, but he's really into this program. Like for him to even sign up for it, you're kind of like, him. Could you see how hard he is when the movie comes on? But the fact that for him, it was, men don't try out for, theater. Men don't do this. And I like the fact that they talked about that in their group, how, men aren't allowed to express their emotions, and doing something like, the arts, that's not a manly thing when
Oh,
it's the arts is genderless. It doesn't matter who you are. You know what I mean? But just the Divine G's progression from who he was to who he ended up being, thanks to Divine G.
right. And
I,
I
I
want to
love
go
their
off.
story.
Same here, and I want to go off of what you said about Divine G for a minute though too. It's like he's been institutionalized. It also feels like Shawshank Redemption, where this guy's been having to do this whole entire parole hearing,
Right.
and he even tells the guy, he goes, "Look, if you got a big
Yeah.
envelope, that means you're not getting out. Smaller the
Yeah.
envelope, the better off you are." And he also
Right.
helps other people, and
Right.
that's what I love about him is the fact that he helps out other people. He's not worried about himself
Right.
or anything. He helps other people, and even the guy is like, "Wait, why isn't anybody helping you?
Right.
You should be the one who should be being needing help."
Right.
And I like how he has that level of humility about him and this
Right.
humbleness within him. And then I
Right.
also like his friend, which is
Oh,
Mike.
Mike. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
get this is actually Coleman's best friend that he had for like 13 years, I think.
In real life?
It's, yeah, in real life.
Really?
Yeah, that's his actual
Okay.
friend
Wow. I
of
love that. I
15
didn't know
years.
that.
Yeah, his actual friend of 15 years, and you can
That's
actually feel
awesome.
it on screen.
Yeah, I would say their chemistry was great on screen. Like they knew each other, but it's great acting, right? I didn't know that, and that makes a lot of sense. And the things that happened with his friend in there took me by surprise. I wasn't expecting that. Also, a really good person, a great character. So, but yeah, I didn't know that. Fun facts.
Right. And I really here's the thing. I like how we're introduced to him, Mike, and how
Right,
much you care about him. And then all of a sudden, my wife's like, "Wait, what the hell happened?" Because he
right,
died because something winds up happening to him. He winds up dying. And
yeah,
even though he was killed off screen, you still care, and it's hard to
Yeah,
do that
yeah,
when you're only introduced to a character for like 10 minutes and he's killed
right,
off screen. Usually, it
right.
takes me out of the thing, but with them setting the character up that way, and him having those last few minutes inside the jail cell,
Oh, yeah,
and he's crying, and you don't know why he's crying or anything.
right.
And then you realize maybe that's why he's crying because he knows this is his last day
You know,
being
I
able to
thought
talk to
about
his
that.
friend.
Right, I thought about that too. Like, was there? Because I think it was an aneurysm that they said
Yeah.
he died from. But you know, did he know he have a problem? What were there problems with him? Because it just happened, and that conversation he had with Divine G that evening when they're first of all, I'm thinking they're sitting in the same cell. You know, I didn't realize that they're actually talking to each other in separate cells. But as they're talking, and he's Mike's telling him how he got the name Mike, and from his grandmother. And it was just a heartfelt scene because you can tell he's going back, regretting what he did to put himself in a situation where, he's at Sing Sing. And that, that he has that thought of like, gosh, I wish if I can just turn it, the hands of time back, to rewind what I did so that I can still be with my grandmother or, my family, just going through that regret of, I can't believe what I did to still be here. And then he passes away that next day. So that was their last conversation. It took me by surprise. I wasn't expecting that.
Same here. I was not
Yeah.
expecting it, and it made me tear up because of
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And, I just thought you can actually feel the emotional
Yeah.
attachment to that character. Not only that, but you also feel just like how Coleman's character does, which is Divine G, and you can feel that pain. It's like, well, what the fuck are we doing this for? And
Right.
everything. We do this once every 6 months. You think they give a shit about this? They
Right.
don't. They don't care about us. We're institutionalized.
Right. And I
Like
think that the cinematography, a lot of the shots that they were able to get were really beautiful shots, and some were shocking shots. Like when Mike passes away, before he does, after they're done having their conversation, how the camera just pulls back, and then you see how tiny the cells are and where they actually are, and it just that shot was just kind of it did something to me. You know what I mean?
I agree. Like that
Yeah,
far off shot of,
yeah, the far off, yeah,
because here's the thing, we think that these cells are kind of big because look how because Coleman can actually have a typewriter inside the
yes,
jail
right,
cell and he's
right,
typing away, and we're thinking that he has this big cell. Then once it
yeah,
pushes that lens away, everything, oh, this is a really tiny cell that
yeah,
can barely move around. You only
yeah,
have a toilet and maybe a small place to sleep, and that's
right.
it.
To
But
remind you of where they're at, you know what I mean? To remind you the situation that they're in. But yeah, that scene got me. And a lot of the cinematography period of the outside of the prison of Sing Sing, because those shots were actually of Sing Sing, the outside shots of the prison, and even shots where he's sitting inside whatever gymnasium or room that they're in when they're doing the acting. There's a shot where you just see Divine G sitting there and the razor wires, right out the window, just to let you know where they're at. You know what I mean? It was just I love that.
same here. And then you talked about the cinematography. I want to talk about that too. Just the way that it was stylized, like
Yeah.
it doesn't look like a digital film. It looks like a 7
Right.
millimeter film that you get
Right.
from like back in the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I love
Right.
that whole entire. It feels like a 1970s kind of setting, but it's
I
not
get that. I
because
get
of the
that.
fact Coleman mentions the fact that his son does YouTube videos
Right. Yeah.
and his daughters don't really bother with him or anything.
Right.
So, you know, it goes to show like he has this idea for the arts, just as his son probably has some idea for what he wants to do for his YouTube channel. So it's
Right.
kind of embedded into him as it is, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Embedded into his son like that. But
Yeah.
the cinematography of the fact that the picture feels like something from the 1970s, but a little bit
Yeah.
more modernized, and then you have those shots of Sing Sing is fantastic. I
Yes.
love how atmospheric it is, where you see like dots. I don't know if you
Yes. Yeah.
noticed, like
I
feels like a
was.
yeah. I love that style. It has that
Yeah.
retro feel to it,
Right.
and that's something I
Yeah.
really liked about it.
I also enjoyed the auditions, for each inmate to choose a character that they wanted to play, and then when they're going in to do the auditions, One character was told, he's a gladiator and, pretend like he's fighting for his life. But the way the camera is set up and it's just directly in their face as they're introducing themselves and what character they're going to play. I love that as well.
Feels like
And then
they're auditioning for us.
exactly, that's perfect example. Yes, like they were auditioning for us. Just that tight camera shot of them, each inmate. I love that scene, and I love them playing out the characters that they want it to be. And it's very childlike humor to see them, play around, mess around, and just to be mentally gone from the situation that they're in, and playing in this imaginary world because of this play that's coming up. So I really love that, and this movie did hit me, like it hit my heart, because there were times where I would get misty eyed, or I would cry, or you can feel if you have empathy, you can feel their pain, you can feel what they're going through. And the stories that they would tell when they had the exercise about, close your eyes and, imagine where you would be, but the stories, one was with his wife, that inmate story, like really touched me. And then you go to another inmate. So, this was just the storytelling in the movie was really
I agree.
good.
Like,
Yeah.
even with the audition, I want to just talk about that too.
Okay.
There's a couple of scenes that I cracked up laughing at. And you're
Yeah.
right, though. It's basically we get lost within the auditions and with them
Yes.
doing this to the point where we forget that they're inmates. And this is where that
Yes.
whole entire thing of whenever Coleman has to go in there, which is the divine G, he has to
Yeah.
go in there to talk about it to his parole officer. I'm like, wait, okay, I forgot you're an inmate. I'm stuck, but
Right.
no, but my favorite thing for the audition though is where you have Divine G who wants to audition for Hamlet, and then you have this other inmate that's auditioning for the same role,
Right.
and he goes,
Divine Eye was the
"Yeah,
auditioning for that
yeah,
same role. I was mad at him for doing that
me
to
too." And at
Divine
first I
G.
thought he was gonna beat his ass for doing
Yeah.
that because I'm like, "Wait, are we gonna get a prison fight in this?"
Right.
Because he didn't get his because he was auditioning. But I like how he doesn't. Like he's
Yeah.
mad at first,
Yeah.
but he also coaches him. Because look,
Yes.
you're supposed to be Hamlet. You're supposed to own the stage.
Yeah.
And he goes, okay. And this is my favorite thing he does. He goes, come on back on stage and everything, and act like you own it. Because yeah, I owned all this shit over here. Yeah. And I'm just cracking up laughing. I'm like, yes. And
Yeah.
then he goes, now what do you feel? I feel angry. Angry is the most easiest thing to play.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now what else do you feel? And it kind of brings him down a little bit
Yes.
where he can play that character where he's
Yes.
getting the audience in, and
Right.
just as he's bringing that audience in, he's bringing
Right.
us in. But another thing though too that I laughed at was, remember that whole entire battle scene where they were trying to get the curtains, and it was like these stiff people, and I like how he's like, "We're not getting those damn curtains."
Yeah, just the fact of how Divine Eye, you know, like I said, how far he's come, and he ends up being a really nice guy. Meeting Divine G, and when Divine G was trying to get to know him and figure him out and try to help him, because he's been there long enough. He's seen guys like this, but to
Right.
see the talent in Divine Eye, um, really helped him out, because obviously, like I said, he's been institutionalized. He doesn't believe he's ever going to go home and whatnot. And so, Divine G brings that hope to him, and starts to teach him how, if you want to go home, you're coming up on parole. This is what you need to do. And like you said about the envelope, if you get something thick, you ain't going nowhere. But if it's light as a feather, you're flying out of here. And they were both up, because Divine G's up for clemency, and then you have Divine Eye that's up for parole. And to find out that all that energy that he put into helping Divine Eye out, and what happens to him, Divine G, it's like you get mad, because it's like, damn, you wanted that to happen to him, because he's a good person, and he has a family, and he's so smart, and he's in there. He didn't commit the crime that he did anyways. He's in
Right.
there on, right, he's
Because he
he's
had that
innocent,
recording.
actually.
Yeah, he had that recording. He's like, I'm good to go, man. I'm set. I
Right.
don't need no help.
Right.
And then come to find out the fact that, on the recorded tape, the
Yeah.
person on the died. So it's like he's SOL now. He's like, so
Right.
now he's pissed off, and I don't blame him. And he's like,
And the
well, what
lady
the
was
fuck
so
is,
rude to him.
yeah. And he goes,
I
are you
mean,
acting? I'm like,
right.
she's like, are you acting now? I'm like, well, what?
Yeah, I was upset too. I'm like, what is wrong with her? He's sitting here pouring his heart out. He's trying to be perfect so that he can get out of here. And she wanted to hear nothing of it, just
No,
nothing of it. And so I'm like, this is going left because you weren't expecting that at you really thought that he was going home. There was no doubt, especially with the tape and to find out the guy died. So can't authenticate the tape.
right.
Yeah,
And it kind of reminds me of. I hate to bring up Shawshank Redemption again. It kind of reminds me of Morgan Freeman when he goes, where he's trying to talk to them about getting out, and
right,
then he at that breaking point towards the end, he's like, you know what? What difference does it fucking make?
right.
You're gonna reject me. I'm gonna tell you some shit. It's gonna
Yep,
be the same thing again. So what the
right,
fuck is the point? Do whatever you
right.
want to do. And this is kind of like Coleman's breaking point
Yes,
as well. Like he doesn't do it in front of them, but he does
right.
it away from everybody, and he's pissed off. And
Yeah,
he's at that breaking point. It's like he gets on stage, he gets that monologue. He goes, "What the heck
yeah.
is the point of me doing this? We
Right,
put on this show for once every 6 months. We think that we're gonna get out. We don't get out. We're stuck
right,
here. So, and what we're doing? What are we doing? We're playing other characters that we
right,
think that people care about. They don't care about us. So why should we care about them and putting on this performance?
right.
So,
Yeah.
you
And the
know,
fact that he says, and it's once every 6 months after it's over with, we go back to our misery.
yeah,
We go back to just being in ourselves, go back to our normal thoughts until this comes back up again. Because remember, guys, they only do this once every 6 months, and after that, they're
back to
inmates.
reality.
Yeah, back to reality. Yeah.
I
So him
like,
losing
yeah,
it, I got it.
same here. Oh, Luke says my favorite movie of 2024. You know what? This is probably if I had to put this on here, it would probably be my best 2024 as well. To be
Right.
honest with you. Thank you, Luke. But you know, the other thing that I thought that was pretty neat was seeing this play come together
Right.
and these group of people that just love the performance arts and you have that. I like how basically um you have Divine G who winds up telling everybody how to memorize their lines.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I love that whole entire thing of breaking down the lines and doing it
Yes.
that like that. Because
Right.
that's actually I think how I learned how to memorize my lines whenever I was doing being in a play and stuff.
Okay.
I was doing it that kind of like that where I would take a section and
Okay.
memorize that section and then go to the next section.
I my
Um,
my way of helping me memorize lines is writing down my part. I would learn the script and I would write down my part and the next person's part to where I knew the whole script. And that would help me out. Or but I would start with sections and memorize that, then the next section, and then that person's part so that I knew, and it was just easier for me. But I like how he taught that and how, like I said again, he really put a lot into Divine Eye by helping him, and the others how to do that, how to memorize their lines. So I felt like he took time away from himself because he thought he was going to get clemency. So, like you said, he didn't need help to where he put so much of his time into others. And especially his special project was Divine Eye, helping him to, change his mindset of how he looked at everything around him and making him understand that you can get parole, you can get out of here and go and live your life. That can happen. So and making it a reality for him, because if it weren't for Divine G, Divine I would have just continued to be in prison and continued to be an inmate.
right, because remember whenever we first get introduced to him, he's over there going,
Yeah.
"Well, you owe me $500."
Right.
And I like how they're like, "That was pretty good acting right there." "Oh, you saw that shit, huh? That was acting?" He goes, "Yeah,
Right.
what do you call it? Motherfucker owe me
Right.
money." But that's what I was thinking that the inmate would say. But
Right. That's why I was
also
surprised that he wanted to be in the RTA, the theater program,
right,
because of how we were introduced to him and the way that they were making fun of him. So you're laughing along like, okay, is he acting? is he putting on? And getting to know him towards the end of the film, yeah, I believe it was a tactic to survive, to make
Right. He
sure
was
you
trying to
know how
act
that
hard.
is, yeah. Yeah, so you won't be messed with. Yeah.
Right. It's like, okay, outside of the play, I'm hard. But then once I
Right.
get with this group of men and everything, those walls are now shut
Right.
down. So therefore I can be who my true self is.
Right.
So I like that. And then, it kind of reminds me of Life with Eddie Murphy as well, where it can't get right, where you have Eddie Murphy helping out
Yes. Yes.
and get right. And it's like, well, what the F? I mean, I'm doing all this for them and we're still stuck here.
Yeah.
So that's just what Divine G also feels like too. But
Right.
I also like the props that they're using for the
Yeah.
water waves, for the water.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I also like how one guy's in the cafeteria goes, and take my amulet and it will be yours. And he goes, here, take the motherfucker.
Yeah, the people that helped out, the staff, the volunteers that helped, every 6 months to bring, the makeup artists and the costumes and put in and help making sure that the guides had everything they need, because this was a big thing. This was a big thing, and the fact that Divine G was the one that started this. He started this whole thing, like you said. He wrote, a lot of the plays that they did. So this was his program, and what a great program it was, because like I said, it was therapy for them. They used it as therapy, and it really did help them. So
Right.
yeah. And I want to mention that, the inmates that played inmates were actually former inmates, that played themselves, in the film, just to let you guys know that.
That's
So
pretty
those
cool.
are those were real inmates turned actors that played themselves in the film. Yes.
That was pretty cool because the last movie I remember was Richard Pryor's Stir Crazy with Gene Wilder, with them having real inmates in that movie.
Yes. Yes, that's right. That's right.
So that was like the last thing that comes to my mind of a
Yeah.
movie being made like that.
Right.
So I thought that was pretty interesting. But my
Yes.
question for you is, what did you think of Brent, the director? Just trust the
Oh,
process.
I loved him. I thought he was first of all, I loved his character, but he was great for those guys. The way that he dealt with those guys, the way that he would talk to them to give them confidence. I love that about him. He was a really good coach, and not only being their acting coach, but also, being like a psychologist for them. The things that he would propose them to do, close your eyes and think of whatever he needed to do, how he can get the performance out of them. Um, he was great. I really, really enjoyed that character.
Same. I
Yeah.
really thought I like how he centers them. He goes, okay,
Yes.
now picture yourself in the most happiest place.
Oh yeah.
And he
Yeah.
kind of centers them to where
Yeah.
they can forget about the life outside of prison, to where they
Yeah.
can be on their uh be in their character, but also like how Coleman's like, we got fucking Freddy Krueger. Like that makes sense. But I just thought I really like Brent. I thought he was a really
Yeah.
great director. You don't
Yeah.
really feel a sense of danger for any of these characters or anything like that.
No, no, not
I
at
like
all.
the fact too we don't get that whole entire prison life thing. We get, like you said,
Yeah.
it makes them feel humanized. We actually
Yes.
care about them. We don't have to worry about is a prison guard gonna beat the
Right.
bricks off of them. I'm glad that we did away with that and we
Exactly.
focused on the humanization of those characters because they are
Right.
human beings. Yes, they made
Yes.
mistakes, but
Exactly.
it makes us care about them.
Right. And
Um,
the talents that you find, that people have that they had, you'd be amazed. A lot of them are artists. A lot of them just never had the chance, maybe, to discover their talents or the opportunity for whatever reasons. But I do go back to the fact that you didn't think about, like John said, what they did, what they were in for. You really cared about them as people, and you cared about their story and what they were going through. And if you did what I did, which was tear up or, kind of cry a little bit, because I was feeling for that, and feeling for them.
Same.
Yeah.
But I also teared up as well, especially when you. I'm not going to talk about the ending part, but
Yeah.
there's that one. I'm just going to say there's this one scene when Divine G finally gets out and someone winds up meeting him,
Yeah.
and you had that chemistry outside of prison and that brotherly
Right.
love between the two
Right.
characters. That made me tear up. Anytime when
Oh
there's
yeah.
like brotherly love or a father
Yeah.
and son dynamic,
Yeah.
it always tears me up,
Absolutely, I get that.
and I was crying my eyes out.
I was too at that part when because when he gets out, Divine G, when he gets out, that excel that he does, and that whoo,
Right.
and he's walking away and meeting the person that picked him up, but the way that he just let it all out and start crying, I was on the couch just hiding my face so that the person sitting next to me wouldn't know that I was crying. And I lost it. It was just sad. And you felt him exhaling. You felt him just that, like that weight just coming off of his shoulders, like the fresh air, looking around. That was a great scene. He's such a great actor. He really is.
He really is.
Yeah.
Coleman is a great actor. I knew it from day one.
Yeah.
Like if the opening scene of the Fear the Walking Dead
Yeah.
of because I can sell anything and da 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 da. I'm like this.
Right.
I was just enticed into his character. I'm just zoned into him. I'm
Right.
ignoring all the other characters to where I'm just focused on Coleman. And then same thing
Right.
with hey Jojo, how are you?
What's up, Joanne?
But the thing that I like though too with Candyman, I didn't like the remake, but Coleman made me like his character that he was
Right.
portraying in that
Right.
movie. He stole the show, in my opinion, for that. And then him playing in that country western movie for the short film that I watched. Then New
Right.
Moon, him doing the animation and stuff for that
Yeah.
movie was good, was great. But
Right.
he's done a lot of work, and he's
Oh, yeah.
just
Oh, yeah.
um. I do want to go over a little bit of trivia though.
Okay.
Um, I'm only going to do like maybe 3 facts and that's it. But
Okay.
the inmate who asked for Divine G's autograph early on in the film is played by the real life Divine
Yes.
G.
Right.
The movie was filmed in 18 days.
Okay. Dang.
Uh, the concept of using real people incarcerated in prison to stage a theater performance was first developed by the Devani brothers for their film, Caesar Devi Marie, Caesar Must Die, which was 2012. The inmates performed Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. So that's just a little small trivia that I found from IMDb. So if you guys
Yeah.
want to check that out. But yeah,
I do want to mention the facility that they shot at it was a high school. It was Hudson Sport Complex. Also the Hudson Sports Complex, and a former Mid Orange Correctional Facility in upstate New York. The majority of the film was shot at the Downstate Correctional Facility, which was decommissioned shortly before production began. Let's see. Also, I wanted to mention, like I said, the guys that were the actors in the film also were former inmates, and yeah, I think that's. Oh yeah, the RTA program, that is a real thing. The film centers around the RTA program, which uses theater as a tool for rehabilitation and transformation for incarcerated individuals. I told you about the true characters, the real life actors, and yeah, you guys can watch this film. Wouldn't you say like 13 years old and up? I mean,
yeah,
could
there's not
watch this
really
film?
because I think there's a valuable lesson to be learned in this movie as
Yes,
well. And then the other thing I like is the fact that when the N word is brought up, they don't
yeah,
say that word, and
right,
I like the word that they use in place of it.
right.
And I'll let you say that though. It's
Was it the Divine Eye?
no, it was brotherly love,
I'm
or
sorry, my bad.
something like
Not
that.
Divine Night, Brotherly Love. Yes, yeah, I agree with that too, and I like that. Divine G had because it was a scene between he and Divine I, and Divine I was using the word, the N word, and towards himself and others, and Divine G was letting them know, no, we don't say that, to each other. Basically, this brotherly love. So I like the way that they tackled that because I so true, so true. So yeah,
Right.
overall this is a good movie. You can watch it with your family. It's funny, it's endearing. Yeah,
Inspiring.
I inspiring, absolutely inspiring. So I enjoyed it. I'm happy that you picked this film, John. Thank you.
Thank you. It was my
Yes.
on my most anticipated movie watch list, and it never
Yes.
came to theaters down here. And it was
Okay.
also poorly marketed though too. Because I
Okay.
remember when Kevin from Reels for Real podcast was talking about this on TikTok. I'm like, I want to see this movie, but it's
Right.
not at the theater anywhere down here.
Right.
And it was poorly marketed. And then even whenever they tried to re-release it for the Oscars, it was still poorly marketed. I don't know if it
Wow.
was because of the fact that they didn't know how to market it towards people that are not in prison, or if it was the whole theme of
Hmm.
everything or
Yeah.
anything like that. But it was just poorly marketed, and I really was hoping that more people would check it out. But
Absolutely.
the thing that I like about it is the fact that it's only an hour and 42 minutes long. It's not a
Yes.
2 or 3 hour long movie, and it knows its identity, it knows what it wants to be. It
Yeah.
only doesn't wanna know, and you don't even feel the runtime either.
No, it was in and out. I mean, I didn't feel like it was too long. I thought it was going to be a long film because of the
Thank you for
story
pushing.
and what they're going to talk about. So I figured it was going to be a lot of, really delving into the background of each character, and it takes a while. But no, I was like an hour, 46 minutes or 42 minutes. No, and you don't even, I was so into it that I didn't even care about the time. I just really, from the beginning to the end of the film, I enjoyed the film.
Same here. I'm gonna have to give
Yeah.
this at least a 4.9 out of 5 because
Yeah, I
as
get
yeah.
you.
But yeah, if you guys wanted to catch it, it's on Max right now, streaming. Go on ahead, check it out. I definitely recommend it. Bring some tissues. It's inspiring. It's something that you can watch with your family, like Rossi says.
Yes.
So that's it as far as this review goes. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on?
No, that's it. Just a great job and really good movie. You guys definitely check this movie out, and you can watch it on HBO on Hulu, and it's streaming. So check it out, guys.
Definitely worth it.
Definitely.
So I'll let you do your announcements first, and then I'll go into mine.
Okay. Let's see. I'm pulling it up. Here we go. All right, so coming up on Rossi's Clubhouse tomorrow, I have Chiller Tribe. Um, let's see, Chiller Tribe Mosey is coming on through. He's a hip hop R&B artist. He's in a category of his own. He has just really good music, very artistic. I love what he's doing. Clothing brand, everything. So I cannot wait to meet you tomorrow. And we have two Divine and Fine. Kayla AK, she's coming through. April is going to be full of artists. Lance Laswell, I cannot wait to meet him as well. So you guys stay tuned for Rossi's Clubhouse.
Okay. So tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, I'll have Bob from Static Radio again.
Awesome.
And this time we are going to be talking about Constantine. We're going to be doing a review, scene by scene breakdown of Constantine, and doing a nostalgic review, and then of course stripping away the nostalgia and all that good stuff. Thursday night, 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, Dawn, me, Don, and Chris, and Rashad are going to be back. We're going to be doing our Daredevil Born Again review for that. Then on Friday, next Friday on the 7th, I'll have Soda back. And Soda and I are going to be going on ahead and reviewing Superman the movie. We're going to go through all the Superman movies, all
Awesome.
4 of
Fun.
them. And this
Awesome.
is going to be fun. This is going to be fun.
Yes.
I'm geeked out over it. But
Yes.
yeah.
And
So
John,
that's
we'll be back for, gosh, we were going to be doing a CinemaCon.
Yeah, we're going to be doing CinemaCon at the end of April, towards the end of
Yes.
April and everything. So we're
Yes.
going to give you our most anticipated movie list of each studio. And like we normally do over here at Movie Lovers Tonight, we'll break down the movie studios on what movies coming out, and we'll do it like that. But yeah, that's going to be it as far as the show goes. But I hope you guys enjoy this review. I hope that you guys check out Sing Sing. And yeah, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe button. Go ahead and check out Rossi's Clubhouse. It's a fantastic podcast. I was actually on our show for an interview.
Yes.
That's out
Yes.
today for audio and video. So, check her out. I'm telling you, she's a great interviewer. She's really great at what she does.
Thank you.
Couldn't ask for a better friend and co-host.
Thank you. Same here. Thank you so much, Sean. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your talents. Like, for real. Thank you.
Well, very welcome. And thank you for allowing me to come on. I do
Of
appreciate
course.
that. All right, guys. Well, that's going to be it. And always until next time, guys, put down the book and pick up the remote.
Bye, guys.
Bye. See ya.